So the inspiration behind the title of my new album, Life Support, was the fact that I was going through a really tough time mentally, and as I was creating it, I made a song called Emotional Bruises, and within that song there's a line that says, "You've got me on life support," and then I kind of teetered back and forth with the idea of naming that song Life Support. And then the more I spoke about it, I felt like it was really fitting for the album title, because I felt like creating the album and actually having a reason to get out of bed and having to push myself actually ended up keeping me alive and giving me motivation. So it served as my life support, which is why I named it that. I would say the biggest difference in me as an artist now versus when I first started would be my confidence and my bravery. I think I was much more prone to kind of being like this turtle in a shell, that if I felt scared or intimidated, I would just crawl back into it and I wouldn't feel the need to push for my opinion. And if somebody had more experience or more knowledge, quote unquote, than me, I would kind of just back down and be like, oh, they know better. But that wasn't always true. And I feel like now I have a lot of confidence and a lot of bravery to say no and to speak up when I feel like it's appropriate. It's my career, it's my voice, it's my life, and so I kind of have chosen the path of not letting anybody else dictate what I am. Hi, I'm Madison Beer, and these are the top 5 things I've learned about myself throughout my career. The first thing that I learned about myself in my career was that my voice mattered and that I had a voice that should be used. And when I started impacting people and I started being approached and they would come to me and be like, hey, I heard your song or I heard your record and it really made me feel like X, Y, and Z, that's when I started realizing like, okay, hold on a second, I have like the power to impact people. And that was something I hadn't understood prior, so it was a really awesome thing to learn. And I went into it with the mindset of like, this is gonna impact people. So I hope it does it positively, and I hope it provides healing and is helpful in any way to somebody. I think the song on the album that would kind of encapsulate that idea would probably be Effortlessly. That was the first song that I wrote when I was in the peak of my mental health journey, I would say, and it was the song that was really powerful. Lyrically, I talk about a lot of topics like going through the pharmaceutical industry and being prescribed medication and being diagnosed with mental health disorders or whatnot. It was a really scary time for me. It can be really intimidating, especially when you get a diagnosis. It can be a mixed feeling thing, and you can be like, okay, do I have clarity? Am I feeling confused? Is this a good thing? And it was just for a while a very confusing thing, and Effortlessly is kind of my song that touches on all of those things. Another thing I've learned about myself is that practice makes perfect, and for a long time I was really discouraged vocally, and I felt like I was never gonna be able to hit certain notes or do certain runs and never gonna be able to perform on a stage a certain size. And every year I've been able to defeat those landmarks, and I've been able to actually be like, okay, now I can hit that note and I can do that run and I can play that stage. And it's been really affirming for me to actually like rework that voice in my head that was so much self-doubt and so much confusion and constant like an inner saboteur that was always talking to me. But it was really awesome for me to begin to kind of silence that voice with those things I was so doubtful of. I was actually able to realize that like, you know, you can do what you put your mind to if you just continue to try, and practice makes perfect. And if you keep on, you know, doing something, it'll probably work out for you. I think that a song that showcases a moment I was really proud of was probably Selfish. I do a big run at the end of Selfish, and I was really intimidated by it. I remember we did like a few takes of it, and then finally we got that one, and I was like, was that right? And me and my producer kind of looked at each other like, that was good. And it was such an awesome moment. And then it went kind of viral on TikTok, and there were so many people redoing the riff, and it was just really honorable and really exciting for me, and it means so much. Growing as a vocalist is really exciting. Another thing I learned about myself is that I can actually write songs, and that was a really intimidating thing for me. I was really scared of writing lyrics and thinking that the things I wrote were weird. I used to write a lot of poetry, and then when I started to make music professionally, I say professionally because I was 12, so it feels weird saying actually professionally, but when I started making music professionally, I was intimidated to songwrite because there were so many people who did this for a living who were really talented and skillful, and I was like, I don't know what I'm saying, and I say weird things, and I don't know if they're good. Then when I started actually using my voice and realizing that I had things to say that were meaningful, it worked out pretty well. And so now I love writing music, and songwriting is just another thing on my list of things that I absolutely love to do and couldn't live without. Again, to bounce back to Effortlessly, I think that Effortlessly is my favorite song lyrically on the entire album. It's really beautiful, or blue. It was written like a poem, and so I love singing that song. So another thing I learned about myself is that I actually don't have 2 left feet. I have always been conditioned to thinking that I was like some terrible dancer, which by the way, I'm not a good dancer by any means at all, but like I said before, practice makes perfect. So if I had a bit of choreo, even if it was very slight, I was kind of able to build this facade of confidence, which then made my dancing look a little bit better. And I really want to put emphasis on I'm not a good dancer, but I'm not completely uncoordinated either, which is a step in the right direction for me, considering I thought that I was. One of the first times I realized that I wasn't completely tone deaf in the dancing department was on my music video for Baby, which never came out. We shot an entire video for Baby that never dropped, but we had full choreo in it, and I had like 7-8 days of rehearsal. By like the 6th day, I was like, I can do this, and I can be confident, and I feel sexy, and I feel good. That was a big hurdle for me. And the last thing I learned about myself through my career is that growing and healing is a continuous process. And I felt like, because I was signed so young and because I started doing this at such an early age, I thought that by the time I was sitting here in front of you 22 years old, I was gonna be all figured out and have everything aligned and be like whatever. And I am still figuring it out to this day, and that's okay. And I think that that has really shown itself throughout my career, and being so young and having to, feel like I wanted to put myself into a mold that I didn't fit into, and then being like unsure of who I was as a person. It's just a continuous process, and I think that that's something I've learned through my career and also just through growing up.